Bună ziua, Victor Putean mă numesc. Eu am întrebări referitoare la sistemul electoral. Deci, în primul, mersi pentru prezentare foarte interesantă. Aș vrea și după asta și slide-urile să mă le dați. N-am reușit să citesc pe toate. Am câteva întrebări de principiu. Deci, prima, cum am înțeles că hotare se printează buletinele de vot pe loc? Cum le securizați? Care este metoda de securizare a buletinelor de vot? 2. La alegerile prezidențiale din 20, văd că numărul de secții de votare s-a schimbat, a crescut mai exact între runde. Și întrebarea dacă este cadru normativ și cum este reglementată chestia asta. Și de ce a fost determinată. Respectiv, la fel, participarea la vot. Am observat că în anii 19-20 a crescut prezența la vot la toate tipurile de alegeri, și la europene, și la prezidențiale, și la parlamentare. Am vrut să întreb, a fost precedat de ceva asta? Care a fost motivul? Poate organele electorale au fost cumva mai active și au informat cetățenii? Sau, deci, dacă este un motiv pe care îl cunoașteți. Și de asemenea, dacă Polonia, am înțeles că aproximativ 30 milioane de legători, dacă cunoașteți cât sunt peste hotare, dacă este așa statistică în Polonia.
Aș ruga pe doamna Kowalska sau pe domnul Adancevski să răspundă la aceste întrebări.
So, answering to your first question concerning ballot cards, so this is ballot card is in fact a piece of paper, which the way to protect it is to put stamps on it. We have two stamps that are placed on the ballot cards. One is a stamp of foreign mission, of Polish foreign mission abroad, who is responsible for organizing elections in a given consular district, and the other is a stamp which is put on the day of election, or if it is a postal election, in advance of election, by a precinct commission. Those two stamps are unique, and this is the only way how we do secure ballot cards. The same principle applies in Poland, in the country. I should also mention that ballot cards, for example, for parliamentary election, are different for both chambers of the parliament. As you have noted, to the lower chamber, we do elect 460 candidates. So the ballot paper is either a huge piece of paper, A3, in a form of in a model of A3, or it is a booklet. As regards Senate, the ballot card is smaller. More or less the same with presidential election, but ballot card is secured only by stamps, and the same applies to ballot card in cards in the country, on the territory of the Republic of Poland. As regards increase of in numbers of precinct commissions in between first and second round. This is ordinance by the Minister of Foreign Affairs. It is his or her duty to provide a legally binding legislation which lists commissions, and why it is so that this number is changing. As you have noted here, in presidential election, for example, in 2020, the number of voters registered for the first round was less than 400,000, whereas in the second round the number increased for about 100,000. Minister decided to add two extra commissions only. This was certain way of helping up commissions members. But coming back to the very beginning of your question, if the number of commissions is changing, this is it would be always decision and legal act by Minister of Foreign Affairs, taken in consultation with National Election Commission. And you have also asked about difference in number of those who were participants in elections. Well, that's a very good question. The political temperature in our country sometimes is growing, and when it is really high, the turnout grows.
If I cannot, just 3 sentences about three topics. First, the stamps. Let's say we think in Poland that because one stamp is in the hands of mainly Consul General, but the second stamp is in the hands of polling station committee, where members are from different political parties, different committees, election committees. This is enough, let's say, control between these two bodies. So first stamp is put by Consul General, and the second by the chairman of the committee. Let's say so they let's say control each other. So this is first thing. Second, the number of the polling stations abroad. I tell you from my experience, I was many times responsible for my party or my candidate in presidential elections for campaign abroad, and I tell you, the number of committees abroad will be never enough. Even if ministry would double it, triple it, always people living in especially big countries, they say, not enough, I have too long distance to committee. So this is why I think the alternative voting by post or maybe in the future by internet gives everyone chance to vote. We don't know how many Poles who can vote we have, for example, in the United States. Some people say we have 10 million Poles. Of course, it's not true. There are 10 million people with Polish roots, but probably it's a few 100,000 people, Polish people having valid passports, and they live everywhere. But we have just embassy in DC, we have consulate in Chicago, New York, Houston, and Los Angeles. Permanent representatives in 5 cities. So, but there are Polish people living in Florida, in San Diego, you know, in Seattle, and so on and so on. It's simply impossible for Polish Foreign Ministry to organize polling stations everywhere. You know, there are people in Australia. We have embassy and we have consulate in Sydney, and that's it in Australia. But there are people in Brisbane, Perth, you know, other Melbourne, of course, and so on and so on. It's too expensive for Polish ministry to organize everywhere polling station committees because it's too expensive, simply. So the postal voting is an answer for, but there are also people, you know, old people, sick, people with small children, people on wheelchairs. For them, postal voting, or in the future maybe internet voting, is the solution, how to participate in elections. And one more thing interesting maybe for you, that we have different number of people registered and voted, for example, for presidential elections for first round and for second round, because we have in Polish regulations opportunity to to register additionally just for second round. So someone who even didn't vote and was not registered for first round can be registered for second round. There's just 1 day for it normally, but they can do it. And also, why number of voters is different? Because who also is voting abroad? The tourists. People, especially sometimes we have second round summertime during summer holidays, and there are people who travel from Poland and they vote abroad as tourists. We had last presidential elections, we had situation in Croatia that was not enough number of ballots, because in Croatia people voted also in person, even was everywhere just by post. And there was so many Polish tourists in, I don't know, Zadar or Split, that number of ballots was not enough for all these people. So thinking about number of ballots abroad, of course, we have to take into consideration in some very popular tourist destinations, also tourists from Poland who come to vote.
The last question that was I was asking, if you know the approximate number of people abroad, Polish people living abroad.
I think nobody knows. Nobody knows exactly the number. In some countries, like for example in UK, they just the UK authorities just ask people living in UK about the nationality, and we know that in UK, according to this registration in UK system, is now about 850,000 Polish people. Okay, plus some who are in gray zone and who are illegally working there, and so on. But for example, in the United States, nobody knows how many Polish people have valid passport. The embassy estimated a few years ago maybe up to 500,000, in US.
Avem o problemă similară cu cea a Republicii Moldova, că nu știm câți oameni avem pe hotare.